Welcome to Listen.
Teacher Chatter.
This is Robin.
And Jill.
And we're back.
We are.
Another week.
I mean, people, you are living your best life getting a little dose of Robin and Jill weekly.
I know you guys missed us over the summer.
You did miss
us.
us.
How did you even live your life?
I think they listened to like the... Back. Yeah, they just listened to it again.
Over and over again.
Again and again. And again.
Maybe we put them to sleep. We're like the sleep app.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure we don't put people to sleep.
I was going to say that. I saw a thing the other day that Matthew McConaughey reads stories.
I heard that.
And that it puts people to sleep.
Yeah.
But his voice is not the same.
No,
I feel like the energy is slightly different.
You know, my husband likes to listen to sermons before he go to sleep. I actually hate that. It puts him to sleep, but all of a sudden I'm in the middle of it, and then he turns it off, and I'm like, I didn't finish hearing that story. I was like, I want to hear what's going on. I was like, we can't do that. Play soft music.
Yeah, like I'm trying to learn the lesson here. Cliffhanger.
I'm like, I'm sorry you don't love Jesus and you're going to sleep, but I thirst for his knowledge.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Well, aren't we just a little ray of sunshine?
I know.
A ball of sunshine.
A little ball of sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
On this Monday morning.
Monday morning.
Yes.
It feels like a Monday.
Gosh. All right. Well, we're going to start with our highs and lows, and Robin wants to go first. No, just kidding. Oh, just a little sass. A little sass. All right. So I will go first. I'm going to start with my low. I think this time of year, right, like kids are still trying to figure some things out, and you start figuring out where kids are struggling.
Yeah.
And my low is just, some of my friends in my class are really struggling with that.
Yeah.
And bless their heart, now knowing some stories or back parts with it, I get it to an extent. But also as that person in their life, like trying to show them love, and they defy that. They don't want any part of that stuff right now. But then you can tell like there's just this battle. I feel like it's a battle inside the kiddos, like those ones that have those moments. And I think the hard part too is as much as you're trying to care and love for them, you also have the other 24 kids in your room that are being impacted by it.
Yeah.
And so I think the reason I'm sharing it is because I know I'm not the only one in that battle, and I want you to know that you're not alone. And being that I've done this for 16 years, I know that it will get better.
Yeah.
And I know, again, that like God's placed these kids in my classroom for a reason. And my skin gets pretty thick with the things they may say. I'm sure yours is too.
Yes.
But I think I also I know that it's hard. And so realize that, like I said, you are not alone. We are in this together, and things do get better. Like I've definitely done extra doses of prayers as we're moving forward, and would appreciate anybody that wants to throw them up.
Yeah.
Send them up. Probably not throwing them up. Send them up as well.
Yeah.
So on a different note, last weekend, this is my high. I got to go to my first wedding of a former student.
Oh.
I was invited, and I was so excited to go. And I haven't been to a wedding in like years, and this last weekend I went to two.
Wow.
One was a family member, and then one of the student, and both times I got teary-eyed because I think it's just a good reminder, one, of like where you and your spouse start off,
yes, I love
like
a good wedding.
all of those things. But the other part that actually really got me is after the wedding, bride and groom are coming around all the tables, and bride gets up to ours, and I'm like, okay, first of all, we have to have a picture because this is my first former student's wedding. I'm really excited.
Yes.
And she's like, absolutely. And I tell her husband, I'm like, well, I was her teacher. I know I don't look like I could be that old, a fifth grade teacher. And of course he played along with me.
Yeah. He's a good man.
He is. As I knew she picked a good one. And I said, he goes, well, what's your name? And I said, well, I'm Jill Weedle. And he goes, she's talked about you several times.
Oh, that's so nice.
And she looks at me and she goes, well, she's one of the reasons that I'm a teacher.
Oh, what a better compliment.
Oh my gosh. I've told the story a few times this week, and every time it makes me get teary-eyed.
I would be
because
too.
It's one of those things, and she's in her second year of teaching, and shout out to, I still call her Addie, Addison, but it was just one of those moments too where I was just like, yes, like you hope that you can inspire one way or another, but to be their 5th grade teacher, they invite you to their wedding, and then
they became a teacher because of something you did.
It was just really special. And so congratulations to the bride and groom. But that was definitely a high for me.
Well, that's an excellent high.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure.
No kidding.
I wasn't invited to a wedding.
Well,
awkward.
Yeah.
When someone teaches 1st grade, they don't usually.
You know what? Nash will invite you to his wedding.
Please invite me. I want to come. I'll buy a good present. I'm a great person to bring. Don't ask Amanda Mass because I went to her wedding and it wasn't so successful. But you know what? My low is kind of like yours. Kids are hard, and it's. I think my heart just breaks because some of these kids that are so young have been through harder things in their life than I've ever been through.
Yeah.
And my heart, I just got home sad just thinking about the things that they've gone through. And it was just a good reminder to me and to teachers that if you are a regular ed teacher or whatever teacher you are, remember to let a child reset, a fresh start. And I know it's hard.
Yeah.
I know these hard kids are tricky. I know they're hard. I know they're exhausting. I know it's hard to take things not personal because it is hard. But these kids have been through a lot. Give them a fresh start on the Monday.
Yeah.
And so I guess it's just my low because I just think about how hard these kids. And listen, I get it. I'm right there in the trenches with you. Right. I'm the one that is in the room when they're upset. So I know how hard it is, but it just breaks my heart at the things they go through, and they're just little tiny bodies that are 5, 6, 7 years old and have seen things that I've never seen. And so my heart's been heavy for them.
I love what you said though with the reset because I try to make a point to my kids when they've had a rough day or something's happened and I can tell that they're on edge about stuff. And I'm like, you and I, we are good.
Yeah.
I said, and you can tell sometimes they're like, oh, well, I don't, but the next day when they come in, I'm still greeting them the same way. Hey, glad to have you here. Yes. And I've had kids look at me before and say, you're not happy to see me here.
I know.
And I'm like, yes, I am. I'm glad to see you here. And I've even had kids that say like, no one's ever said that to me before.
I know. Because they're always been the bad kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just puts it in a different perspective. Yep. So anyway, my high is honestly, I just really love my job. My job's hard. But the laughter and the love, I was telling somebody this week, I said, because they were talking to me and they're like, man, this has been a rough year for you to start off. And they're like, do you like your job? Your job looks exhausting. But I said, you know what? When I go to a door and their face lights up and they come running to you and they take your hand and say, I love you, Mrs. Hammonds. I'm like, that honestly means so much. And it's just that joy that we have. I know, I guess maybe it's just a rough week. It just reminds me it's what we do. So that's my high.
Absolutely. Well, some reminders. We are on TikTok. Robin has instructed me that she may have some people that can help her create TikToks.
I have.
On her own
here. I've got a new committee.
Oh my gosh. This could be
exciting.
I'm actually really pumped about this.
When you're cool, you're cool.
Can't argue that.
You haven't seen that yet, so we'll see.
I cannot wait to see what you're deeming as cool. Oh my gosh. So be checking that out.
It might be a while. Don't check over and over.
Facebook, Instagram, we're there if you want to see what we're looking like on any given episode.
Today's not a good day.
YouTube. I've got my edgy hair.
Listen, she is very edgy today.
I mean,
very hip.
I mean, it almost looks like my head's shaved. So there's that. I had a kid. That's actually what they said to me today. I'll bring this story up later, but trying to figure out something about me, and the kid was like, you've got rock star hair today. You look like a rock star. And I was like, and I love you.
Yeah.
Like,
listen, when you're it. That's all there is to it.
And then the other conversation became like, you always have your hair different, Mrs. Weedle. And I'm like, the things they're noticing.
See, that's very nice of them.
One of them wanted me to start braiding their hair in the morning.
Oh, well, it is a pretty cool braid.
Well, so. I know, but 75 kids. I just don't think that's going to happen for me.
You don't think your principal wants to spend time with you doing hair?
It was actually my principal's daughter, so I may have to do that one.
Hey, you teach the whole child, right? It's not all about academics. You teach the whole child.
All right. Well, on that note, this week, we wanted to talk about just our coworkers, the community that you build within your building, and share some fun stories along the way that kind of highlight some of these things.
Yes.
And because it's huge,
Yes.
right?
Oh, it's so important.
If you are a person that is only in your room all the time, and maybe it's for the best if you're having a rough community, maybe that's it. But definitely we would suggest you start building that community within your building, because I don't know what I would do without it.
Me neither. Ugh. It's so important.
It is. But here's the thing. I think sometimes people think it's already there. Like, you can start.
Oh, 100%.
You can start the positive. You can start the have fun, enjoy being around each other. You can start that. It doesn't have to be somebody else.
And it's not, it could be asking people to eat lunch with you that's on the same lunchtime with you. Yeah. You know, it's talking to them at recess, or staying after and talking a few minutes after school or before school. Like, it doesn't have to be something big.
It doesn't have to be a committee.
No, it doesn't have to be a committee, but committees are great. But you're right.
Any longtime listener is like, I know where this is at.
It doesn't have to be a committee, but
one of us really likes committees and one of us does not.
Does give you a good sense of family. But yes. So it's important, and we're going to share some funny stories of why it's important.
Yeah.
That makes our job great. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I will. I'll start this off.
Okay.
Well, actually, Friday, end of the week, long week, felt long. Had a lot going on.
Yes. And for a 4-day weekend, it was a long week.
Know. I think they're sometimes the longest, but we're coming in from bus duty. You know, all the teachers start walking, and I see a couple of our teacher friends over, and they have water balloons in their hands, and they're like, "Hey guys!" and they start launching them.
Now, why did they have water balloons?
Well, they did a sensory activity today with water balloons, so it was school related for sure.
Academic.
And yes, shout out to Mindy Chisholm on that. And she had a whole big case of it. In fact, I'm going home with another one because she had a cooler full of more ones.
Oh, your boys are gonna love it.
She donated them to the Weedle boys. They're so excited. Well, they're gonna be. So in this moment, you know, and I can tell on faces of some people are like, is this actually happening? And I'm all about this. So I'm like, throw them to me. Throw them at me. I'll run and I'll dodge, you know. And we just had so much fun laughing and giggling. Now, I maybe did get my friend RJ. I threw one to her. She was a softball player. I felt good about it until she was like, no. And it's up in the air. And then on top of that, I look and I'm like, oh, the sun's in her eyes. The sun is beaming in her eyes, and it lands at her feet in the wood chips that then splatter all over her feet.
Tell me she didn't have tennis shoes on.
No, she had sandals on.
Oh, good. Then that's perfect.
Yeah, it was, except it wasn't. So anyway, it was, I felt a little bad, but kind of not, because I was like, you should have caught the balloon. No,
it's your fault.
Just kidding. If she listens, she'll let me know. But it was just fun. Like, we all started laughing, and then we see in the short distance our assistant principals.
Oh.
So some were like, that would be funny. And I said, and someone was like, I don't know if I can do that. I said, I don't think that it's can I? I'm definitely going to throw balloons at them. So we run. There's video happening as we're throwing. Shout out to Mr. Loads. He caught 2 of them.
That's impressive.
It was. Shout out Mr. Scott. He got one really on him.
He caught it with his body.
I mean, I think he was actually talking on the walkie, like probably doing something important. But what I loved about that, though, is just being able to have fun
and
laugh
and enjoy it.
And for the principals too, you know, like, they're real people.
Yeah.
They can enjoy that stuff and know that it's not like, I'm going to put this at your feet. You know, it's none of that stuff. It's just all good fun.
Because you have that unity, that family. Yeah.
And it creates that.
I 100% agree.
Things don't always start off that way. And this is only our 2nd year in the building. And one of those principals is brand new.
And actually, Jill Weedle's looking for a job.
Yeah, you know, I feel real secure, actually, in my job. I don't know who they'd find to replace me.
True.
Like, it could be way worse than this.
Listen, I think you're safe. I feel like you're safe.
I don't think there's job security. So, but it was just one of those, like, have fun.
Yes.
Have fun. Be goofy. It's okay. And for some of those people, I could tell it's a little bit outside their comfort zone, but they still did it and giggled with it.
And the thing is, it's a memory that they'll always have. You know, that's what I think. People just don't want to let loose and have fun sometimes. And when they do, it's something they'll always remember.
Absolutely.
Well, my story, when I'm thinking about like a team and being a part of it, you know, this week has been kind of a rough week because we have some tricky kiddos. And so we have a new principal this year, and Dr. Wallace and Miss Richard and I have worked together for a while with behavior kids and stuff like that.
At least 2 years.
Hey, it feels like forever. I started this job with her, so you know what? It's like, feels like it's been years. Okay. So we're kind of used to Dr. Wallace is new. And so one day this week, it had been we had put a lot of fires out. Okay. A lot of them. And we had all done some chasing and a lot of hiding and a lot of things. Okay.
You had hid, or you had to find
none of your business.
Yeah. Okay.
But at the end of the day, it was finally like 3:00 and we were sitting in the quiet room and
wait, just you principals? You and the principals?
Yes. I have to go there sometime.
Oh okay.
So they were in there, so I had to go take one kid back. So I came around the corner and I had this smile on my face, and Dr. Wallace said, "Well, Robin still has a smile on her face, so that makes me feel better." And I said, "Except it's like the Joker smile. Like, everything's fine. We're doing great here.
Smile until you make it happen. It'll be good."
We all three laughed so hard because I was like, but it's nice during stressful situations, and that you can make jokes like that and be like, "Yeah, we're fine. Everything's great. We love it. It's a super day. It's awesome." And so, but I thought it is nice when you have a team and you have administrators, and kind of like you're being the balloon, that you can laugh and make jokes with. And we all know it's hard. Yeah. But we do that. We're there because we want to do what's best for kids. And we believe in these kids. And but yeah, we laugh. We're like, listen, it's that Joker smile. It's not because it's easy going. We're here.
And I think that's it though. Our job is hard. It's hard enough for all the things. And for the complaining, all these things, like you have to find the pieces of joy in it and realize that you're working with people, not just teachers or counselors or principals or custodians, whatever it may be. Like, find the places where you can laugh and have a good time.
And the reason I think it's so important to have that with people you work with, no one understands your life unless you're a teacher. Yeah. You work in the school system. Because I mean, your husband worked in the school system, so y'all know it. But like, even the stories I tell my husband, or if I come home, he's very understanding. He listens, but he doesn't understand the day in and day out, where these people know. And they love those kids the same way you love those kids. Right. And they care about the kids, and they're invested. And so honestly, I say it a lot, but a school is like a family. It really is. And that's why it's so important to have that. It's just because you can go through hard times together. But anyway, we did laugh about that.
Because in those moments, but you can also, it kind of breaks down some barriers where when you do have stressful things going on, it's people that you can also count on to go to and realize, like, we can laugh together, we can cry together, we can problem solve together. I think it's like just each one of those layers breaks down a wall for people. And so I know for us, and I know not everybody, but like, laughter is something that we can bring to it. And I know that's not everybody's personality, and that's okay. You just can go find one of us.
Because listen, that person's looking for someone to laugh with.
Yeah, that's right. Because I'm also, I need somebody to chill me out sometimes. But in all seriousness, like, everybody has something they can bring to the table. Yeah. And so, and be willing just to kind of step out into that too. Yes. Like, even if you're just standing there, and you're like, they are crazy, tell us that. I mean, tell the people, like, you guys, oh my gosh.
And usually us crazy people be like, you're right, we are crazy. Isn't that hilarious?
And technically, I know you want to come over. And then they'll be in.
Listen.
I'm an includer. I'm an includer. And a woo, so I'm going to win you over on that.
That's exactly right. And listen, we'll just be happier if you really want to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's so true. So I'm going to go to the next one. We had a new staff member, a new para in our building. And I know I don't get to introduce myself to everybody, but this one happened to come by when I was like doing bird seed before school got started. And so I start talking to him, get to meet him, and I learn, and I'm going to protect him with names, but Paul. Okay, Paul is from Peru. Oh. Or not from Peru, but he was a missionary kid in Peru. I learned all these things in a short amount of time. I'm like, oh, he's a neat guy. Yeah. Then he tells me that he happened to be college roommates with one of the other teachers in the building. Oh. So I'm like, oh, well, this guy, he's kind of wild too, right? Yeah. So I see this other teacher, and he tells me a story on his roommate. Okay. And I think this is where it builds community, being able to laugh together. Yes, okay? I love it. So he just proceeds to tell me, and I need you all to know that Paul gave me permission to share this story because he is a good sport. And I think this is, again, where sometimes silly things happen, and you just got to go with it and laugh about it.
Yes.
And
if you can't laugh at yourself, who's going to laugh at you?
And he really didn't even do anything wrong on this, which is ironic with it all. But and he also said that his former roommate tells everybody anyway, so why not put it on?
Am I his former roommate?
Maybe. So apparently when they went to college, obviously I said Paul had pretty well grown up in Peru. They go to college, and there is a girl that I guess her boyfriend thought she had dated one of these guys that were roommates, and he didn't like that. So somehow, to get back at the fact that somebody else had dated his girlfriend, he follows them to where their dorm. Okay. They don't know this, but what ends up happening is there ends up being poop in their shower.
Okay.
Poo in their shower.
That's disgusting.
Okay. Now, no one knew what had happened, and so what people start thinking is that Paul
is the one
had pooed in the shower because he was from Peru and he didn't know any better.
Oh no!
So this goes on for a little bit, and finally the roommate.
So then he has the reputation.
Yeah, he's Paul the Pooper. Paul the Pooper. And so they go and have this conversation, and he's like, "I didn't do it." No one believed him.
No.
Months later, this girl comes up and apologizes to the roommate and says, "Hey, I'm really sorry about what my boyfriend did in your bathroom." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Well, he pooped in the shower." In your shower, which by the way is so weird, right?
That is so weird.
And at that moment they realized that Paul was not pooping in the shower. But this is what I love. This story gets shared with
at
me.
Your school.
With me. To which ironically I immediately see Paul and I look at him and I go, "Paul, just heard his story about you." And he goes, "Did it have to do with poop?" And I was like, "It did."
Oh.
But in saying this, funny story, past, but he's able to laugh at it.
And you're in a whole nother level of friendship.
Oh my gosh, it broke down so many barriers. We joke about it all the time. He's a good sport. I tell him he can make fun of me for whatever he finds out. It's fine.
Oh my gosh.
And we just call him Paul the Pooper sometimes.
Oh my God. This is why I can't go to middle school. I can't handle this.
Oh, you just wait. I got another one for you in a minute.
No.
So this is just middle school. This is where it is different, Robin.
It is different.
It is quite different. Do you want me to keep going with...
Go ahead.
Keep going.
Yeah, you know what? Mine's a more serious one. The last one I'm going to share.
Okay, so I'm going to go with a round 2 on this.
Okay.
Whew. If you want to know what middle school is like, I am about to tell you. So I'm teaching a lesson yesterday or last week, and it's about ideas, and I'm telling them stories from my childhood. Sometimes I make them up.
Okay.
They don't know. And I even tell them, "You don't know." And then I'll ask at the end, "Do you think that was a real story?" And they'll say, "Yeah, you had too many details." And I said, "What if I told you it was made up?" And they're like, "You're a liar?" And I'm like, "Guess you'll never know."
And did you yell cap?
No. Did not.
That would have really been impressive.
And they didn't. I just don't even think about that. Gosh, I'm not cool enough yet.
See.
Not cool enough. So I'm sitting there and I tell the story about a kid when I was in elementary, the boxes at Valentine's Day and how they always had lovey-dovey stuff on them. And I say how this boy put one in my Valentine's box that said, "Be my Valentine. I love you, Jill." And the kids immediately gasp, right? They're like, "Oh my gosh." And if you have a kid in the car, you may want to earmuff real quick.
Or Mrs. Hammond.
I have a student slam his hands down on the table and go, "Coach Weedle's gonna be pissed."
What did you do? What did you do?
Guys, my husband is their PE teacher. And the room goes silent.
I would go
silent. I get big-eyed and I was like, "That is a bad word." That's what I said. I was like, "That is a curse word. That is a bad word." And the kid goes, his eyes get big. Now, I need to mention that this kid is an EL student, but he's transitioning.
So it's a new word he's learned. He thought he was using an appropriate word.
So I told him, I was like, "You need to get out your D card," but because that's our discipline thing. And I walked over to him afterwards and I was like, "Hey, do you know what you said?" And he's like, "Well, like he was mad." And I was like, yeah, but the word you used is a bad word. And he was like, and I go, "Now I know that sometimes words are used at home, but we can't use them at school." I said, "Did you really not know like that was a bad word to use?" And he's like, I didn't know. And do I believe? I don't know if he knew or not. But I was like, but he looked enough like it's used a lot in my house.
Well,
and it might be. But I was like, okay, I'm not going to sign this, but if you have a word you're not sure about, come and ask me privately, and I'll let you know.
And don't yell it in the whole.
Don't yell it. I mean, he slammed his fist in. Coach Weedle's gonna be.
And no.
I mean, he was serious. He was mad for Coach Weedle.
Well,
So
you know what?
I told my husband about it, and he was like, "You about signed his D card. I need to give the kid candy."
That's right. He was protecting you.
Yeah, he's got my back on this third grade kid trying to steal my wife.
That is hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
That's the stuff you can't make up.
You can't make it up. You can't make it up.
You can't make it up at all.
No.
So how that goes along with building community, though, you also build it within your classroom.
You do.
And like,
that's just as important.
And he cared enough about Coach Weedle. He didn't want people trying to mess with Coach Weedle's wife, you know? I end up telling the story, but again, it also related back to the idea, like, those kids that are trying to figure out the language.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I hadn't even realized, like, those kind of pieces. I've never had that happen before.
Well, and what's so bad is we have to do that a lot in elementary. Things that are said at home.
Yeah.
And that's kind of for EL kids. You can't say it at school.
Right.
Because someone said it in kindergarten this week. They said, "What the heck are you doing?" And the kid raised his hand. He said, "We don't say that in my house. That's a bad word." And the kid's like, "No, it's not." And so I had to say, you know what? That's not an appropriate word for school. You might can say it in yours. And the other kid's like, "My mommy doesn't say it. My daddy doesn't say it. We're not allowed to say it." I'm like,
one kid's scarred and one's like, "What? I didn't even know I said cuss words."
It's not appropriate.
Oh my goodness.
Well, here's another one. You know, I'm a hugger.
Yeah.
I love to hug.
You do. You're a great hugger. You're a beautiful hugger.
That's right. I feel like there's some talent that I have here, and hugging is one of them.
Did I tell you? I told you earlier, but I mean, the listeners, you know, I told Robin that when she retires, I think she could be one of those cuddlers.
And I said, like, some people go cuddling. You would be Miss Hammond's cuddling. Yeah. That's what my profession.
She could make a lot of money, but it would be real awkward at times.
But you know, at the end of the day, that shouldn't even been my high. I had a friend that I work with. And I had not really seen her much through the day. And she just came in and I said, "Hey, what do you need?" And she said, "You know what? I just needed a hug from you before I left for the weekend. And I'm just coming to give you a hug." But I thought, isn't that what community is? It's like, and she didn't have to tell me anything else. Like, I reached over and hugged her and I said, "I hope you have an awesome weekend." And she said, "That's just what I needed." And I think that's why you have to be that for people. And it probably meant more to me than it even did for her. Yeah. And that's another reason why community is so important, to put yourself out there. And honestly, like she is not one to do that all the time and everything. But if she didn't get out of her box to make that effort to come here, she would have missed out on things. She would have missed out on a hug from me. I mean, hello, who doesn't want that?
Everybody should want that.
But I mean, I think that's sometimes we just need to make sure that you step outside your box and be that for some people. Yeah. And you will be rewarded as much as they will be rewarded, both ways. And so it's just good to have a good sense of community about that.
Yeah. And I like what you said there with put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Because it does take that. Like, you can't hide in the corner in the box and think that, like, what's wrong with, you have to put yourself out there. Yes. And that could just simply be going to your next door neighbor and just saying, "Hey, how are things going?" Yeah. I mean, and I know everybody has different comfort levels with that, but that is, sometimes we got to reach, right? Reach and go outside our comfort zone. So.
And another thing I want to challenge also, if you are a grade level that meets and eat lunches together or do things, another thing is reach out to maybe those special ed teachers that might be eating in the room by themselves, or related arts and it may not always be on the same schedule, but if it is someone that eats lunch around that time, so easy. It's easy to get wrapped up in your own team that sets together and you do everything together, but realize there's paras out there. There's special ed teachers or related arts. They're interventionists. There's a lot of people that aren't a part of a group. Because I was actually just talking to some of my first grade friends, Karen Franken, while we were saying, she's like, "I miss talking to you," because I met with her today about a kiddo. And I said, I think that's what I love my job. Yeah. But I do miss that sense of a group that you're with all the time. And so many times I don't have a lot of breaks. So like I eat really fast to my room and that's fine. But I miss that community of a group. So, reach out and make sure you include people that could be at your time and some of you are awesome at it. But if you're not, just think outside of your box sometimes too.
I think that's good. Yeah, that's a good one. All right. Well, I'll just go into
a challenge.
Yeah, let's go into the challenge. Robin has entrusted me with it this week. How about that?
Yes. I don't know her naughty words today. I don't know if I can trust you.
Yeah. Well, this went along with actually the the first PACE meeting that we had of the year, I just kind of felt God kind of like, how do we start a year, right? And luckily, there's a lot of people out on the internet that have great devotionals, and then I just cut them apart.
Yes.
Really, that's what I do. I cut them apart and make them my own. But for this one, there's a couple of things, and it's just, again, going with that community. 2 things. 1 is being positive and encouraging to others. 2 is encouraging others. So with a be positive, we know that there are things that we can complain about every single day. There are things that we can complain about. But cleanse complaining from your heart.
I love it.
Philippians 2:14 says, do all things without grumbling or disputing. Look at the bright side and be the light to others. Okay, when we think about do things without grumbling or disputing, we know. And I know there's times to stand up and do, but I think, well, instead of the grumbling, like, figure out how to be a problem solver with it. Here's a problem. Here's how I'm going to solve it or help. And it's okay to go and ask people for that. But if you're just sitting there day in, day out, and you're grumbling and whining and complaining about something, if it's outside your boat and you can't do anything about it, you're just hardening your heart for those things. And it bogs down everybody around you too. So be positive. The second one is encourage others. Run alongside your colleagues and praise them for their spiritual gifts.
Oh, man.
You know, we have so many talented people around.
I agree.
And I know that the guy that came to speak, can't remember his name, but he was talking about, like, where's your magic? You know, like, I don't remember how he worded it.
I think he called your
superpower.
Superpower,
your superpower in your classroom. And I've thought about that a lot, and I've had people, and they're like, I don't know what my superpower is. And I'm like, you've got it, right? But we also have to recognize it, but recognize it in others.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we think they already see those things, but a lot of times people don't. Like, the things that I see great, I have one of my friends, she is just so book smart with stuff. Like, I am awful. I can't memorize things. No. I can't even remember the speaker's name from the beginning of the year, and I liked him. I liked him a lot. But she's one that is just so talented with that. And I don't know if she recognized it herself, but I brought her up in this meeting because I was like, Kara Groves, like, if I need, like, data, this is who has said this, studies have shown, you're my person. Yeah. Like, you know, the textbook lingo of things I don't know. I'm going to say something, the definition maybe, but I don't know what it's actually called. Lucky. Yeah. If I'm lucky, this is what I do. What do you call that? You know? And she knows. And I'm like, but there's so many gifts that people have around you. Point it out to them, and don't think like, oh, it's silly for me to say this, because it gives them that little burst, and it does encourage them. Pull them aside after meeting. Thank them for what they've done. Publicly praise them in front of others and be like, did you see what they did today? Yeah. Because it makes such a difference. And I agree. I know it makes a difference, because when people have done that for me, I'm like, it gives me this extra
it's the best feeling.
It is.
I agree 100%.
And why would you not want other people to have that? 1 Thessalonians 5:11 says, therefore, encourage one another and build one another up just as you are doing. Build one another up just as you are doing. If you're not doing it, start it.
That's right.
But therefore, encourage one another. I mean, what could be more beautiful than having a group of individuals that are encouraging, praising each other.
And doing it constantly. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just be like a habit. Yeah. A good habit of doing it.
It comes to your mind. Don't hide it in your mind. Just say it to them. You're great at this, whatever it may be. So, and just my challenge to you this week is to do those 2 things, right? So be positive. When there is some negative thoughts, it's okay to have negative thoughts. We know that they're out there, but instead of just grumbling about it, be a problem solver. So if there's some of those things, or if it's outside of your boat, let it go. There's no reason for it to bog you down. Right. Encourage others. My big challenge is going to be when things come to your mind or you notice something about someone, reach out, email them, text them, do it publicly in front of others. It will impact them.
I actually love this. I actually already have people in my mind.
Are you writing it down? Were you writing it down?
Yeah, I was. See, I do listen to you.
Oh, man.
I do.
Just changing the world one robin at a time.
That's right. There only needs to be one robin at a time. That's for sure.
Oh, man.
Well, we hope you have an amazing week. This is Listen.
Teacher Chatter.
This is Robin.
And Jill.